Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Lola Haolastuti. Here I would like to tell you about my proposal under the title Podcast the English we Speak as the Media to Improve Students' Idiom and Expressions Understanding. So, the first is background of the study. Idioms. Idioms are a very important part of the English language. So learning and translating idiom have always been very difficult for foreign language learners. List defines an idiom as a group of two or more words which we have to treat as a unit in learning a language. We cannot arrive at the meaning of the idiom just by adding together the meaning of the words inside it. And to be more exact, an idiom is a sequence of words which is semantically and synthetically restricted so that they function as a single unit. So, from a semantic point of view, the meaning of the individual words can be assumed to produce the meanings of the idiomatic expression as a whole. And then, from a synthetic viewpoint, the constituent parts of an idiom often don't permit the usual variability they display in other contexts. And so, after idiom, we have so many difficulties to learn idiom. So, since the problem of meaning that have been told, I told the previous students when students do master the meanings of some English idioms, students usually didn't have an appropriate teacher to teach them. I think the best teacher for teach idiom is native speaker because their mother tongue is English and they speak English in daily, so they really know about how to use idiom well and what is the meaning exactly. And to cope with this problem and this situation, podcast comes with many abilities. Podcast can be an interesting way to teach students to teach idiom and expression. And podcasting is a peculiarly intimate medium, usually transmit through headphones to a solitary listener or played over the car stereo during commute. An audio narrative can be immersive in a way that a radio playing in the background in fiction is. Podcasts are designed to take up time rather than to be checked, scanned, and rushed through. They are for those moments when you cannot be scrolling on your phone. As the world becomes busier, the podcast format has become incredibly popular. Audio contents allow the listener to multitask. And then, so in this way, podcasts become an easy media to use whenever and wherever students are. The teacher is interested to do research with these issues, podcasts and idioms and expression, under the title Podcast the English we Speak is the Media to Improve Students' Idiom and Expression Understanding. And the researcher here will use podcast the English we speak from BBC, which focus on idioms and expression. So the podcast features a light conversation between two people who take one fun and popular idiom every week. Students are able to improve their understanding in idioms and expression through podcast as the media of learning. And then research question is, how does the impact of podcast the English we speak in improving students' idiom and expression understanding? And then research objectives is to describe the impact of podcast the English we speak in improving students' idiom and expressions understanding. And then pedagogical significance, there are theoretically and practically. After that, previous research, the research has been done by Goyas Ahyan Tabei and Ehsan Rezvani from Islamic Azad University Iran on the title Effects of Using English Podcasts on Idioms and Vocabulary Learning of Iranian EFL Learners. And then the second is the research has been done by Riyam Ka Al-Makran from Majmah University under the title EFL Learners' Attitude Toward the Proper Pronunciation of English and Podcast as a Facilitator of Proper Pronunciation. And then the third is has been done by Jonas Vos Gonzalez under the title Podcast-Based Pronunciation Training Enhancing FL Learners' Perceptions and Production of Fossilist Segmental Features. And then the fourth, the research has been done by Trianti R. Abdurrahman, Noni Basalama, and Muhammad Rizky Winodo on the title The Impact of Podcasts on EFL Students' Listening Comprehension. And the last is the research has been done by Iskandar Abdul Somad, Ahmad Mustari, Dian Ahmad from Syiah University on the title The Use of Podcasts in Improving Students' Speaking Skill. Okay, for the literature review, I have definition of podcast. Podcast is defined as an audio file made available on internet. It's a combination of two words, broadcasting, the term used for the transmission of television and radio, and iPod, well-known portable media MP3 player developed by Apple Computer. So podcast has been compared to radio broadcasting because it usually has a single producer or group or people producing it, and the audio transmission is sent to lots of listeners. What's different about podcast is that unlike radio, the podcast listening doesn't have to listen to it at the time of broadcasting. Instead of radio transmitter, a podcast is stored on the web as a digital sound file, and this sound file can be transferred to any computer or digital service. And then importance of idioms. We know that idioms have different meaning. If we maybe for the example, idioms are one of the universal aspects of all language. They are considered to be an intrinsic part of human communication, and they may cause not only linguistic but also cultural and technical problems. So when you want to master the specific language, it's like English, you have to know about the culture, and the idioms is one of the culture. There is a cultural aspect on idioms, so you have to if you want to master English, you have to know about the culture. Idiom is the one of the culture of English itself. And then definition of idioms, I have told you in the previous part. And after that, hypothesis. There are H1 is podcast the English we speak can improve students' idiom and expression understanding, and H0 podcast the English we speak cannot improve students' idiom and expression understanding. So research design. The research design of this study used through experimental research. Researcher will do the pre-test and post-test control group design. For this control group design, subjects are randomly assigned to the two groups. Both are presented, but only the experimental group is treated. After close observation, both groups are post-test to measure the degree of the change in each group. And the determination of these two groups is going to use random sampling technique. After determining the sample, the researcher prepares the material and instruments that will be used to teach. Then the researchers makes a pre-test to both the control group and the experimental group. Okay, and source of data. The source of data or participants going to be taken in 11th grade of students at Mantu Cirebon. The participants are going to be taken from 80 students, which divided into two groups, first group and second group. And first group, each group have 40 people. For that two groups, class 1 or the first group will be the experimental class, and the second group will be the control class. Sample: the population this study is going to be taken from 11th grade students of Mantu Cirebon academic year of 2020 and 2021. There will be two groups, there are group 1 and group 2. The researcher will use random sampling, that is all of students in all over the 11th grade. 11th class have probability to be the participant of this research. And then variables in a term frequently used in research project. In this quantitative research or quantitative that I take through experimental, there are two variables. The first is independent and the second is dependent. In this study, the independent variables are podcast, the English we speak, while the dependent variable is students' idiom and expression understanding. And then method for collecting data. This research was conducted quantitatively on experimental study. Quantitative research is quantitative analysis, deals with the data in the form of numbers and use mathematical operation to investigate their properties. The research is going to be cooperation on the principal and the English teacher of the 11th grade of Mantu Cirebon. A pre-test conducted before treatment apply and post-test conducted after the treatment. Yeah, and then is instrument. The first is pre-test and the second is post-test. And method of analyzing data, because this is a quantitative research, and I use experimental through experimental. So the method of analyzing data, there are two methods. The first is descriptive analysis and the second is inferential analysis. And procedure and timeline. This research was conducted from 25 March to 22 April 2020. It was counted since the proposal was submitted until the end of the research. So I think maybe I will take a month for this research. Maybe for about 6 weeks maybe. So the first week is post test, and the first week is I will discuss with the administration official and the headmaster, and I will discuss with the teacher. And the second week I will give the pre-test, and the third, fourth and fifth week I will give the treatment for the experimental group, and the last week I will give the post-test for both experimental and control group. Okay, there for me. The last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.